Is there a doctor in the house?
Doctor, you have a visitor in the main lobby.
Hello and welcome to the Talk To The Doc podcast, where we dig into what really makes organizations thrive. And today we're unpacking what it truly takes to become a workplace people want to join, stay, and give their best. So if you care about your team, and I know you do, this is one conversation you don't want to miss. I'm your host, Steve the Dr. Meek, and the doctor is in. Our guest today is Betsy Allen-Manning, founder and CEO of Destination Workplace. Hello, Betsy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing incredible. It's a Monday, feeling good. I know this will come out on a different date, but any time I'm alive and kicking is a great day.
Amen to that. I feel the same, and it's beautiful weather here in Dallas, Texas, so we're feeling good.
Awesome. Well, Betsy, before we get started, I think the best thing is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself so people can hear about all the great things that you do?
So I am the founder of Destination Workplace. We help companies build better leaders and better workplaces, and I am a keynote speaker. Speak all over, nationwide, worldwide, actually, and I love what I do. I say I geek out on leadership and workplace culture. It's everything I do. I research it, I study it, writing the book on it, and it's my whole world. And my goal is to just create better workplaces because I think employees deserve that.
Absolutely. Yeah. As a leader myself, I'd like to think that I care a lot about being a great leader myself, but probably my team really wants a much better leader than I do. But, it's great that you're passionate about it and carry that forward. Definitely the world needs more great leaders, more passionate people. And it sounds like you love it.
Absolutely. I think if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work as much.
That's right.
We all have our things that do feel like work. And I will say what got me started in it was working for really bad leaders. I worked in the hotel industry years ago, and I worked for one company that ruled on fear and punishment. And I thought that's how the real world was. I thought that's how the real world operated because I came from a singing background. So I was a performer. And that when I got into the real world, I just accepted being treated the way they treated us. And when I got to another hotel where they treated us so great, I thought, everybody should know this. Everybody should treat people this way. And when I moved up into management, I thought, I want to know what it takes to be the best leader, to create the best workplace. And that's what really put me on that mission to go out and make sure people are treating people the way they deserve to be treated and creating workplaces where people can really thrive.
That's so important. That's so important today. People, especially in the remote work world, and I'm sure everyone's got their own bad experience. I remember I was at a GM's meeting, and I remember the message to us from the CEO was, "Those of you who aren't fired up with enthusiasm will be fired with enthusiasm." And all I could think is, wait, this is your inspirational message to us of the team. Sometimes those lessons stick with you and do make you better leaders down the road.
They do. I agree.
Well, as we get started, this is I treat this just like a doctor's visit. So like every good physician, I always, try to get a sense of what's going on. So let me get the pulse from you. And, I think of the pulse as kind of the state of the market, or what trends do you see affecting the world of leadership and being a destination workplace?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say the state of the workplace. So if you look at the workplace kind of like a real estate market. So in the real estate market, you have a buyer's market and a seller's market. They both don't coexist at the same time. You have one or the other. Same thing happens in the workplace. You have an employer market or an employee market. In an employer market, you'll have the pick of the talent pool. You have people that are knocking on the door saying, applying left and right, saying, how do I get in with your company and how do I stay? In an employee market, you have people saying, I'll decide where I work, when I work, if I'm going to show up to work. Usually we'll complain at work, and they're not loyal to any company. So which one do you think that we had post-COVID?
Well, immediate post-COVID is definitely an employee driven environment.
Yes. Yes. We had a very high employee driven workplace and they had their pick. And I was saying it back then. I said, be careful because if you come into the workplace and you're making all these demands, guess what's going to happen? Things are going to shift. And then you're going to wish that you would have come in and said, let me make myself valuable to a company. And instead of just expecting them to bend to everything that I want. And I think the smart employers were the ones at the time that said, okay, we made the mistake of not providing a great environment before COVID, but now we're paying attention. So let's modify the environment that we have for employees. Let's make it better for them. Let's partner with them in order to make the workplace better and to meet their needs of today. Now, things have started to shift again. So we conducted a national workplace trend study, and we found out that there were 5 employee experiences, things that they said they need in order to consider you a destination workplace. And when you meet those 5 needs, all of a sudden you have people that say, I want to apply at this company because I've heard such great things about them. I want to engage in the culture. I want to contribute ideas and make it better. I want to promote them to family and friends to come work for them as well. And of course, I want to stay here long term because this is such a wonderful place. And it's hard today to get employees to stay. It's every struggle that I hear every C-suite and middle manager have is how do we get people to apply? How do we get people to stay? And those 5 employee experiences, that's the start. That's the key.
Got you. Now, when you say 5 employee experiences, are you talking about 5 things that happen or categories of experiences or what kinds of things are you talking about when you say 5 positive experiences?
Sure. So the 5 employee experiences are first, we have the experience that employees have with your culture. That culture is the very first one. So what is the experience? What is there a DNA in the culture? Is it non-existent? So we say that people either show up for the paycheck or they show up for the purpose, one or the other, not both, right? So if you have a destination workplace culture, you have a purpose-driven culture. People are showing up for beyond the paycheck. They say, I have a purpose here. I see how my job, my role connects to that. We have a DNA within our culture that everybody abides by. It's a certain behavior. There's core values that we live by. When I worked with Orange Theory Fitness, they said we bleed orange. They bled their core values. So culture is the first experience that they say they want to have a positive experience with you. And if it's not a positive one, almost always I find that employees say they're having a toxic experience, right? The one where their gossip is high, they're not feeling valued by anyone, the morale is very low, performance is low, everything that you can imagine when you have that toxic type of environment. So that's one of the top 2 reasons people leave is culture. The next one is leadership. That's the next experience they say they need. And those are the top 2 reasons people will either stay with the company or leave a company. And with the leadership, they said we want leaders that we trust, because I think we're in a trust deficit right now in the workplace, in the nation, in our news. And you look around, there is a trust deficit. So
Absolutely.
The workplace is the perfect place to start, especially as leaders, to start building that trust again. They said that they want leaders that are transparent with them. Even if you can't tell me everything that I'm wanting to hear, can you just at least tell me I can't say anything about this? Here's what I do know.
Right.
They want leaders that take time to develop them. I always say paycheck leaders will only ever produce paycheck employees. So if you want people to show up for more than the paycheck, it starts with you as the leader showing up for them better. And that means investing in them, looking at them and saying, is there a high potential leader here? How can I develop them? Am I giving them every skill and tool that they need in order to be successful in their role? Am I helping them feel like they have a sense of purpose? Am I coaching them to success or bossing them to failure? When we ask those questions as a leader and we develop ourselves as a leader, now we're in a position to have people that say, yeah, I'm staying because of this leader. Right? And how many of us have ever worked for companies where we said, I don't want to leave because I don't want a chance working for a boss that isn't like this one. So leadership, that's why it's that second experience. The third one is growth opportunities. And this is where I think a lot of companies are failing right now, or just missing the mark, is that they say, well, we don't have room for them to grow. We don't have any positions available. For instance, in education, we see this a lot, right? There's not a lot of tenure positions open. That's fine. Can you still develop them for a future leadership role? What does that look like? Can you still give them more skills? So, you have 49% of millennials that are saying learning and development is important when I'm looking for a job. So job candidates want to know you're going to be developing them. Huge part. They also want to know they're going to be developed for that future leadership role. And we want future ready leaders to step into those roles, right? We don't want people stepping in those roles who don't know what they're doing. We learned on the job back in the day. That's how it was during our time. That is not how it is anymore. You're going to be losing people that way. The next experience is a sense of team. People want to feel I come to work. These are the people I see longer, sometimes hours than I will actually see my family. So we're spending a lot of time with them. Are we getting along? Are we being taught conflict resolution skills? Do we know how to communicate with each other in a way that amplifies that sense of team? Are we collaborating well together, or are we just taught to work in silos? They want that sense of team. And then the last one is a sense of well-being. And this goes with the times that we're in right now. That wasn't even a thought during our day. But today, that is one of the top thoughts is does this company align with my sense of well-being? Are they providing opportunities for job flexibility? Are they looking out for us as far as providing mental health resources for us and talking to us about the sense of burnout that we may have at work and making sure we don't have a workload that overwhelms us. So those are the 5 employee experiences. And I say, if you're providing a positive experience in those 5 areas, you have a destination workplace. If you're providing a negative experience, you will most likely have a resignation workplace. And there's a difference between the two.
Definitely the charge for a leader today, I think is, I've said before that I feel like the entire world is 20% more stressed than it was pre-COVID from whatever reasons going on. And so last year, was really, I've always seen myself as a person playing an actor, basically playing the role of CEO, trying to steward my organization through what's going on, and I have to be a certain way and present myself and do certain things. But last year I was struggling a little bit, or struggling quietly, and decided to share a little bit more of my personal journey, for physical health, mental health, brain health, all those kinds of things, and turned them into presentations for the team. And I just got a lot of good feedback from people just saying, hey, I'm glad you said something. I've been struggling with this. And I felt like I was keeping a secret from everybody, or, hey, thanks for sharing that. I didn't think about it from that point of view. And I think your point about trust is so key. I've heard that so much over the past 6 months from people and leaders and everywhere, that everyone's just looking for trust out there, and having that two-way relationship of, hey, we're in this together, I guess, in essence.
We are. And in an AI world, how are we reinforcing trust? Because I don't know about you, I look today, I'm scrolling through social media, and you see something, you say, is it real or is it not real? I don't know. So when I say there's a trust deficit, there's so many ways that we are losing trust in general. Leaders need to step up the mark on that. And they really need to amplify trust more than ever before.
Yeah, actually, that's you bring that up. But over the past week, you see so much conflicting information. There's so many posts and so many things. My favorite prompt now is, can you clarify the facts in this? And I'll just copy paste whatever the social media post is below that. And the great thing about social media is it goes out there and it'll tell you, hey, this is a fact, this is an opinion, this is whatever. But I've used that for ads, for promotions, for news, for other things. And I think I read somewhere at one point that the sign of high intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in your head at the same time and really contemplate them. And so I think using AI to kind of extract those facts out of conversation helps me as a person really think about what's being said, who's saying it, how it's being said, and try to not just take it as gratis. Each party has their own opinion of things, and each party does their own facts and opinions. But I found it really helpful to sift through those things really quickly and help me truly think about posts as opposed to just reading and believing, because it's easy to just read and believe.
It is. And I do think that takes a high level of emotional intelligence on your part to be able to do that. I agree with you. I think two things can be true at the same time. You can have your view, I can have my view. They may be different, and they both may be true at the same time for each person. And we can be objective about it and look at each other and say, okay, let me understand your side, instead of just going straight for the argument, which I think today's society is built as they're very argumentative society. And it's, as leaders, we need to bring back thought leadership. We need to bring back, what is it like to actually contemplate an idea and have a healthy debate without having to tear each other apart.
Yeah, real discourse as opposed to immediately having an opinion and not listening to anything the other party wants to say.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned your 5 different positive experiences. Is there one that leaders should be more mindful of, pay more attention to, invest more time at growing in that area themselves?
I do think there's a couple, and I would say, first of all, developing yourself as a leader. I believe in leadership excellence, and that means some people get into a role and they just think I'm here for the paycheck. So
Yeah.
Paycheck leaders, right? Produce paycheck employees. But I say, why not strive to be the impact leader? The one that leaves their team and their company better off than before they came along. Why just show up just to get the paycheck when you as a leader have the opportunity to make a true impact on someone's life? And Maya Angelou once said, make an impact on the world so big it can't be erased. And I believe in order to make that kind of impact, you can't just have a team of yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am. No, you have to have a team of other leaders. And that means being able to identify who are the high potential leaders on your team. That means taking time to develop them and invest in them. And that takes a lot because you're already doing so much in your own work, and then you're putting out fires all the time. So at the end of the day, whenever I'm doing customization calls for whether it's a keynote or whether it's a workshop or training, whenever I'm doing these customization calls, one of the things that they're always saying is I feel more like a firefighter than I do a manager or I do a CEO. I'm a full-time firefighter. That's all they're doing. And we've got to get ourselves out of that. And I said, usually I'll challenge them a little and say, is it because you're willing to put out the fires, or it's because you're not willing to take the time, because it does take time, not willing or unable right now to ask them how to be solution-minded for themselves? One of the best tricks I ever learned back in the day was the 2-solution method. Uh-huh. So if you want to get people to stop coming to you with problems all the time and stop being that firefighter, or people that complain all the time, you want to put that to a stop. When they come to you with a problem, you say, I'd love to discuss this with you. However, I'm a little busy right now. And what I'd like to do is empower you to come up with solutions for yourself. So what I'd like to do is have you go back, and I want you to think of 2 solutions to this problem. Then come back to me when you have those 2 solutions. I'll think of some as well, and we'll discuss it together.
That's awesome.
And after a while, they start to realize every time I go, right? Every time I go to Betsy, she's going to make me think of these 2 solutions. So then they show up and they either think of it for themselves and solve it themselves, and they don't need to come to you, or they say, I have some solutions. Can I mull it over with you and see if they would actually work?
That's great.
Right.
That's great.
That's how we stop that constant cycle of just being a firefighter all the time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni's work, and we read as a company we read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team a few years back, and the great thing about it was we did get away from some of the yes. Well, I just said yes because I thought that's what you wanted to hear. Into we actually had arguments in our managerial meetings or annual planning meetings, but after we left the meeting, then we're all on the same page and kind of working together. But it's that philosophy that you kind of get the team you deserve. If you're not investing in your team and growing them as managers, then you are going to have that where you're always fighting fires and they don't feel empowered to help be part of the solution.
Yes. And I believe that's part of the culture that you create as a leader. That's why culture building to me is one of the biggest things that you can learn how to do. And there are 7 skills I believe every single leader needs to develop within themselves. They need to be good with communication and understanding human behavior. They need to be good at coaching people, and not just coaching them and saying, I see your full potential, but actually having those difficult conversations with them to turn around that poor behavior. They need to be good with their time management, because they're managing their time and they're managing their team's time as well. They need to be good at delegation, which is the hardest thing for us to do as leaders, because we either don't trust people to do it right or we don't have time to teach them. They need to be good at team building, getting that sense of team. And that's not just fluffy mode, let's have some fun and do some games, but it's being very strategic and helping people collaborate and innovate together as a team. Culture building and change management. And that's managing the changes that we're going through in a way that lowers change resistance. And I think what two most important would be learning how to really communicate with people, especially people that have different personalities than you do, that human behavior side, then the culture building side as well. And that's where that two solution method becomes part of the culture. And then a leader can start to hold people accountable to the DNA that you say that you have. Those are those behaviors, those, I call them NNBs, the non-negotiable behaviors that you put into play. So a non-negotiable behavior may be no gossip. Another one may be we solve problems, right? We don't just identify them, but we solve them as well. So that becomes part of your culture. And then, I always tell people, everyone at every level either contributes to the culture or contaminates the culture. The leader is the one that sets the tone for that.
Wow, that's so true. Lots of great skills there, lots of great takeaways for people out of that. I've always been like a really great manager. And then I read the book Multipliers. I think it's Liz Wiseman. And then I realized I had like all these diminisher skill sets that I had in my work. So you really have to have a thick skin if you want to be a great manager to really scrutinize yourself and go back and look at what you're doing and the whys and stuff. And like you said, those are some great skills to take with you and learn and use and live. But it's a continuous reinvestment to keep getting better.
And it takes you to a level of leadership excellence that we need in the workplace today, because if you don't have it, I always say that there are 4 P's that a leader is responsible for. You're responsible for productivity, right? The performance side of things. You're responsible for the profits. That's a bottom line. Even at the middle manager level, you are still responsible for contributing to the profits. You're responsible for people, which means people can stay or go according to the leader, and you're responsible for purpose, instilling purpose into the workday every single day. And if you're not paying attention to the culture side of it, that part can go. If you're not paying attention to the communication or human behavior side, that part can roll off as well. So that's why leadership development, it's an ongoing education. I think it's a lifelong education that we should never stop investing in.
Well, that's awesome. The 4 Ps. I don't think I've heard that one before. So I'm going to have to put that into my book of things to do some more research and studying on.
Absolutely.
Now, the next thing I like to talk about is we just talked about performance, but, performance metrics, what the heart rate, what tells a story for you right now as far as performance of people.
So performance of people just today in general?
It's just kind of an open number, just as much as anything, just trying to pull a statistic out of you for us to kind of talk around.
Sure. Well, I don't know if this is around performance. 69% of millennials and Gen X, here's one performance stat, will say that they'll actually work harder and stay with the company longer if they are appreciated more. So if we want people to perform better, part of it is appreciating better. And one of the things I used to do is give Starbucks gift cards to everybody, thinking everybody likes coffee, everybody drinks Starbucks. Until one day, one of my employees did a great job on something. I came out, I gave her a Starbucks gift card. Thank you so much. You were great with that customer. Appreciate you. She said, thank you. And then I walked off, turned back around because I forgot I had something else to say to her. She didn't realize I was behind her. And I watched as she threw the gift card to the girl next to her and said, here, one of these days she'll realize I never go to Starbucks.
Oh, wow.
And it just hit like a knife inside, thinking, I missed the mark. I appreciated her, and it completely fell flat because I didn't appreciate her in a way that was personal and that made sense to her and spoke to her. So I went out and I put this employee recognition questionnaire together. And I wanted to know, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite sports team? What's your favorite drink? What's your favorite restaurant to eat at? What's your favorite snack? Well, I found out that this girl likes Yoo-Hoos, right? Sent it out to everybody, filled it out. She liked the drink. You know, the drink Yoo-Hoo,
Yeah.
it's like a chocolate milk drink. She
Right.
loved, I think they're still around. She loved those. So I put a couple in my fridge at work because she was always one that to go above and beyond. And the next time she did something above and beyond, got the Yoo-Hoo out with a little sticky note, put it on her desk because she wasn't there at the time. I said, "Thank you so much for all your hard work on this project. You did such a great job. This is for going above and beyond." Now it's something small, but just to say thank you in that moment. She came into my office later practically doing cartwheels over a Yoo-Hoo. And by the way, that cost me less than a Starbucks gift cards
Right.
I was giving out. But she appreciated her in a way that made sense to her. So I think that's one of the ways that we can maybe hit the mark more is appreciate people personally. Make work more personal. Performance also increases when we have our SOPs in place, so our standard operating procedures. If so-and-so is sick, all right, if Dan is sick and out for the day, could Bob come in and take over his job without any hiccups at all? Do we have these procedures in place? Do you have a checklist? Do you have a step-by-step instructions on how to do certain things in your business? So if someone is out, your business doesn't completely fall apart on that one day. So those SOPs really help get people in order and keep the performance level high.
Now that's two really good things. As far as I really like the idea of personalizing the recognition. How do you do that? I know some people do like anonymous surveys. I know some people have employee of the month or employee of the week. Did you find there's any particular program or recognition type that's better or worse? Or do you have any tips for putting together that employee survey?
I have as a free gift for anyone that's listening on this podcast right now. We can get that. You can just reach out to me at BetsyAllen-Manning.com. I'd be more than happy to share. It's a fillable PDF you can send out to any of your employees at the employee recognition questionnaire. And it even has a tracker in there as well. So you can track, hey, this is what I appreciated them for last time on this date. So you're not repeating the same thing over and over, but you're finding new ways to recognize them all the time. I also think that you tie recognition to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having a coaching conversation, you tie it, your recognition, your core values to recognition. You tie your core values to your coaching conversation. So the core values, when you're recognizing someone, hey, you went above and beyond with this one client of ours. Well, above and beyond is one of our 5 core values. And we just, that's what one of the things I want to recognize you for. If you're always tying your core values back, you're always creating and keeping alive that DNA within your culture that you say you have. That's one way that we culture build, is by constantly bringing those core values in. So bring it into the recognition, bring it into coaching conversations. Hey, one of our core values is respect at all times. Well, the way you spoke to that customer just now needs a little bit of work. It didn't really live up to that core value. What could you have done better? Here's what I think you could have done better. So we're constantly breathing life into our culture by keeping recognition alive and top of mind, by keeping the core values alive and top of mind as well, by developing people all of the time, by helping them flex new skills that they're learning, all ways to just keep this culture alive and filled with purpose.
That's a great point. I think that's been, having a 20-year-old organization, that's definitely been a challenge for us. I'd like to think that we have a great, strong culture, and that we do a lot of the things that you identified. But at our company Christmas party, we do this thing called Fulcrum Jeopardy, where there's just a few company questions, but then there's questions about sports and what's on TV or movies or music, whatever topics, and we try to make it half geeky and then half family member oriented. But we actually asked the question, name for the 6 core values, and nobody got the question right. So it's just one of those reminders to me that no matter how well I'm doing it, no matter how many times I've repeated it, that those are things we need to make sure that we're talking about all the time, just like you spoke about, that making sure that it's completely baked into the DNA and repeated daily,
Yes.
not just annually, quarterly, on a monthly meeting call or whatever it happens to be.
And one of the best ways that you can bring those core values to life is to tell stories around it. So maybe something that a client or a customer writes into the company and says, hey, this is something you did really well. At Win and Encore hotels, we did this very, very well when I worked for them. They had the Employee Wall of Fame, January to December, Employee of the Month for each month, but not just their picture and a name beneath it, but beneath that was a story that a customer had written in about what that person did to go above and beyond for them. And beneath it stated which of the 4 core values that story aligned with. And as this Hall of Fame lives in an area where you have to walk past and see it every day. So when you walk past, you read these stories, you think, I could do that. And it inspires you to want to display these core values as well. It's stories really help breathe life into those core values and that culture.
Now, are you finding that in kind of the remote workforce era that, some of these things that you're having to make them digital or come up with other ways to promote these things?
So instead of having a visible employee wall of fame, you would have a company newsletter that goes out that says, hey, so-and-so is featured this month for a customer had written in about them. This is what they did. So you're talking about it in meetings. You're putting it out in a newsletter. It becomes part of your recognition program. So like you said, in December, your Christmas party, you may have some kind of recognition program. And during that time, you're recognizing Employee of the Year, and their story is told about what they've done and the core value that maybe it aligns with the most. Then it keeps it alive. And that gives people ideas. Oh, I could do this too. Here's how I could display that core value in my role.
Got it. I like it. Now, as far as one of the things I've run into, we do like an anonymous survey. And one of the things that surprised me in one of our anonymous surveys, while several people liked like our monthly happy hour kind of thing, I've actually had some people respond things like, I don't want to feel obligated to go to a happy hour because I already work 40 hours a week with everybody. I've had people say, I can't make any of them. I've got a busy family and blah, 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 and those kinds of things. Any recommendations for organizations on dealing with I think the culture's changed a little bit, or there's people who would rather never come into the office ever. And the face-to-face being diminished relative to what it was just 5 years ago.
Yeah. So what I say with remote or hybrid teams is if you're going to bring people into the office, so maybe you see a lot of companies now that say, hey, you have 3 days at home, 2 days you have to come into the office. And my question to them is why? If you're going to bring them to the office, why? Because if they're doing this exact same job in a cubicle, siloed, that they would be doing at home, why are you bringing them in? Or if you're forcing them to go out and try and have fun with people when, well, they work a long time with these people at work, they may not want to go out and go to a happy hour. They may want to go home to their family at that point. So if you're going to bring people together, it needs to be strategic. I always say a collaborate and innovate session is a really good way to bring people together. So you ask everybody, come with at least one challenge, something that a challenge you're having at work that you just need to brainstorm with some other people and work through it. And so everybody comes with at least one challenge, and then you're kind of breaking people up in teams. If you're doing it, if you can do it remotely as well, but if you want to bring people together, it's a great reason to bring people into the office because now they're collaborating. They're working together. They're not just coming in to do the same job siloed. It makes no sense at all to bring them in for that reason. To bring them in for that particular purpose where they're going to collaborate together, they're going to brainstorm together, and then it gives them a quick win as a team together as well.
Yeah, that's, taking a step back and asking why I think is great. I play basketball all the time, and one of my buddies, we were just talking about work because they're in IT as well, but I asked him how things were, and he said, well, they started making us come into the office. And I'm kind of a little bit of a proponent of face to face. And I said, well, how's that going? Just asking him. And he said, well, it'd be great. But when I go into the office, nobody that I work with is out of the same office. My peers are in this state, this city, this country, this stuff. So when I go into the office, I'm basically all by myself with people that I don't know. And I don't get to work with anyone on my team. And I was like, I can see where that wouldn't be a very positive thing for you.
Yes. And that's why I always ask CEOs when they say, well, we're going to make them come in the office 2 days a week. Now, I will say culture, you can definitely create a culture across a remote and hybrid team. It can be done. It's more work. It is harder. That's why it's great to bring people in. But if you bring them in for a reason, and I'll always ask, I always push back on that when C-suites tell me, well, we're going to bring them in 2 days a week. Why? You need a good reason why. Otherwise, you're just going to frustrate people.
Now, are there any suggestions that you have for remote workforces about driving that core value DNA or making everyone feel a little bit more connected, collaborating better?
It's great if you can have some kind of either a daily jump start where we bring everybody together. Hey, here's some challenges we had yesterday. Here's what we're doing really well. Here's the goal for today. Just a really quick 2 to 5 minute jump start to just have everybody feel we're together. We're here as a team. Here's the challenge of the day. Here's the core value I want you to focus on today. All right, go make it a great day.
Awesome.
Something like that. What definitely at least once a week, bringing them to everybody together to say, let's mull through some challenges together. Let's work through it.
Okay, I like it. Well, last, as far as statistics, I always like to ask what I term the weight, which is I think is just strategy. Is there a strategy metric around things that leaders should be cognizant of or be mindful of?
Well, I think one thing would be 68% of employees are leaving due to poor leadership and a toxic workplace culture. So understanding why they're leaving, those 5 employee experiences, if all you do is just improve one at a time, take 5 months, improve one at a time, focus on just one, whether it's culture, leadership, well-being, growth opportunities, or sense of team, one at a time, focus making it better. And you'll start to see the workplace dynamic improve so much just by starting there. Then I would take a look at other SOPs, processes, and say what's working, what's not. The first impression that people have is when they apply. So you might want to also look at, is our application process. A lot of people say, well, people say that they're interested in the job and then they go to apply and we're not getting the applications. Well, when I actually asked job candidates about their business, they said the application's too long. This generation is not going to spend time. Now, our generation, yes, we would have done that. So it's our generation creating the application process. This is how it's always been done. I think going back and looking at our processes and say, just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean it's the most efficient way to do it. So what do we need to cut? What do we need to start doing, stop doing, and do better?
I've really found that really helpful. Just SOP development using AI, SOP development using existing things, just trying to flush things out, make things look a little bit more standardized, incorporating new good practices. It's unparalleled, I think, for being able to come and really just stew on a topic and really try and come up with a good, solid process for doing what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. Focusing down on those and making sure everybody across the team has access to everything and they know where to reach it as well. That's part of the onboarding process. Here's a resource tool, right? A library where you can access SOPs to everything.
I think even, to your point, even improving the onboarding process, making people feel engaged a little bit more early and connected to and those kinds of things. I used to, being in the IT industry, one of the worst things in the world was on your first day of work, you come in and watch a whole bunch of videos by yourself that just doesn't make you feel any core value, doesn't make you feel any connection, doesn't even make you feel like a person. It's kind of like just watching a streaming service or something. But I remember one of my first jobs was IT, and my first day was, hey, there's a whole bunch of computer parts in the back. Could you put some together, see if you could make a computer for yourself so you can kind of get started today? And I just remember thinking, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah. Yes. that is your first impression into the company once you've gotten in with them. And I think the onboarding process is where so many companies get it wrong, because you could have an amazing workplace culture and they'll never know because they decided not to go past the onboarding process because it was so poorly done. So getting those first two parts right, the hiring process and then the onboarding process. I worked for Disney. So once you work for Disney and you onboard with them and they tell you, they have you watch a short little video, but when they bring Mickey Mouse in the room, as an adult, and I'm a Disney fan, but I'm not like, Mickey Mouse is amazing. It's Mickey Mouse walks in the room. They do it so well that when he walks in the room, you start crying. It's just not a dry eye. It's like Mickey Mouse, because you understand the history and the story and how special it all is. That is onboarding. That is making you feel like I just joined the most incredible company on this planet. That's what onboarding should do. It should get people excited about their job.
Well, I for our organization, we have, kind of our mascot is this Spot Dalmatian dog. And now I'm having these visions of me coming dressed up as a Spot dog one of these times just to kick that off.
There you go. Tell the history, be the Spot dog, and they'll love it. Yes, great. See, you're creating a great employee experience already.
Now, you talked a little bit about the onboarding and I guess kind of creating an engaged team member early on. What are some of the other things that you see from onboarding that organizations need to improve on?
Giving people the resources they need to be successful. So I see it's easier for me sometimes to talk about the onboarding mistakes that I see and how to fix them, because they'll onboard people and people say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Where's the resource tool for this? And they're like, oh, it's in this place online. And then you go there. Well, how do I access it from here? And they feel like I'm on a scavenger hunt just to try and figure out how to get this one resource to work. And they have no clue what they're doing. And they feel like, what did I just join? And that normally will preface your entire workplace experience. If that's how it starts, most likely that's how it's going to go the rest of the time. So if a company wants to set people up for success in their role, they'll start with that onboarding process, get them everything that they need, make sure they know exactly where it is. And do they have, an onboarding buddy, someone that says, hey, or mentor, someone that says, hey, I've got you, put their arm around you. And I worked on cruise ships for a while. And I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, but especially back in the crew corridors, you have no clue where you're going. These are long crew corridors. You're walking down saying, I have no idea what floor I'm on. I think my cabin was this way. I don't know where the mess is. And you're looking all over. It's so confusing. But when you have a buddy that says, especially like with Disney, that you'll have a name tag that has something beneath it, this little red tag beneath it, where people say, oh, you're new. Are you lost? Do you need anything? They're always looking out for you.
Gotcha.
So they find a way to make it a better experience by giving you every tool you need to be successful, even if it's just finding your way.
So in the old days, the first day of work, you'd walk somebody around the office, show them everything physically. How do you do that in the work from home world? How do you digitally show people all the things that they need access to, all their contacts, all those kinds of things? Is it a central documentation platform that has all those SOPs, or do you envision something else?
I think it's like any, if you buy an online learning program that you're going to go through, normally you'll have someone that says, hey, this welcome video, hey, welcome to the program, blah, blah, blah. Here's where you're going to find this. And they walk you through every aspect. It's almost like the same thing that you would do in person, but you have the person, the manager or a team lead that's going to walk them through and say, let me show you where everything is in here. And, here's where you find this resource. Here's where you find this. If you need to reach out to anybody, you use this tool here. It's just a virtual walkthrough, but you've got somebody that's doing it with you, and that you can answer their questions along the way.
Now, what about, generationally? We've talked a little bit about work from home. We've talked about the evolution of things, but for managers, you've got, I guess, some baby boomers, Gen Xers that are managing younger people. It's always been, different generations. Are there things that we can learn to be better managers across generational lines?
Absolutely. Yes, understanding personality style is the same. I don't know if you understand DISC.
Yeah, we
It's
do
one of my
disc.
favorite models of human behavior to utilize because it does manifest the same across different generations. I will say, so that's not my area of expertise is understanding the generations. However, I do know that understanding Gen Zs, when they want to move up into management, they want to be managers right now. And the mistake a lot of companies are making is saying, well, I want to accommodate them because I don't want to lose them because they still think it's an employee market. I don't want to lose them. So they move them up too soon. They don't know what they're doing. They're making all beginner leadership mistakes without being trained. And now they're losing the 4 Ps, right? The people, the profits, the productivity, the purpose. So that's where we got to make sure if you're going to move people up. So paying attention to what the generations want and just saying, how do we do this in a way that is efficient? How do we do this in a way that is effective? Understanding that these younger generations are more transparent. They want more transparency. They want more trust in the workplace as well. And then it's bringing the generations together. How do we get them to collaborate together and understand? So maybe us Gen X and boomers, maybe we need a little more help technology wise. I'd like to think some of us are kind of savvy technology wise, but these younger generations come out of the womb knowing everything there is to know about AI tools and building tools. So we can ask them, we can lean on them and say, hey, how can you help in this area? Give me your knowledge, share, contribute to the workplace what I don't know. And not being afraid that they're going to take your job, but help them improve the workplace and make it better.
Yeah, I think, I guess in IT, I don't notice it as much across generational lines. You typically have people who are good with technology and, are very passionate about what they want to do. You've got the people in the middle, and then you've got the people who maybe always feel behind or not quite, don't pick things quite up as much as anyone else. But to me, regardless of the generation, you've got Gen Zs and younger people who are up there with your most senior experienced people is that passion for learning, and then you've got Gen Zs who are at that lower bell curve with maybe some of the older people who don't pick up as fast anymore. So IT to me it hasn't been as generational driven to me as perhaps other industries may feel it is.
And that may be the case, or that may be your specific experience in a very niche area within IT as well. So when I've worked with a lot of tech companies, they've got some young up and comers who, like I said, want to move up very, very fast, and they're very knowledgeable, and it's making sure that they're trained and ready. Instead of just throwing in the deep end and expecting them to know how to swim, well, give them little floaties first and teach them, work with them, teach them how to swim first.
And I do find sometimes that some generations or not generations, some individuals are better at teaching than others. Some just don't have the patience to teach. They're really good at doing, but they're not as good at teaching. And then other people are really good at teaching. And, I guess there just hasn't really been a consistency there. But to me, it just felt like across generations, there's people who learn quickly and there's people who don't or have a natural disposition for it. Although I do feel some of my best successes in IT have been, for whatever reason, people with like a musical background. Their sense to see kind of a big picture and architect is a little bit better than people who just are good at fixing issues and stuff. That being able to take a step back and see a lot. For some reason, I find those people have a musical background. I don't have one, but a lot of the other people that I've seen who are good at technology do.
I was going to say, we may need to hear you sing a little bit or something just to prove that.
Now, if you really want to hear me sing, then you're a glutton for punishment, because I can dance, but I can't sing.
Oh, we might need proof of that sometime in the spotted dog outfit.
There you go, the dancing dog. I'm starting to feel this come together. It's becoming a whole story that's taken off by itself.
It is.
Well, now, as we come to the end of our time here, try to ask every person, to sum it up for me. Give me that one, I guess that one big takeaway, that one thing that's most important out of the podcast for people to come away with. And I'm a big fan of Mark Twain, so You might say that we've stirred the river and we've kind of examined the current. We've startled a few fish along the way. But if there's one truth that you want people to take away from today's conversation, what would you want that to be?
I think it was something I said a little bit earlier is that everyone at every level either contributes to the culture or contaminates it. And it's a leader's job to help everyone contribute to it, to create the environment where people absolutely want to contribute their best and show up as their best every single day. And that requires leadership excellence. And that means you've got to step up. My father once told me leadership it's not a position or title, it's a responsibility. And you're responsible for developing yourself so that you're capable of developing others. And if you're not willing to step up to that responsibility, you should be willing to step down because your team deserves the best.
Definitely.
That would be the one thing I would want maybe to leave everybody with is that one thought of developing yourself first so you can develop others.
And I think that's incredible too. Just along all the years of being in leadership or employee, I've seen people along the way who worked themselves into a management role only to find they didn't like it. But they forced themselves to be a manager every day, even though it made every fiber of their being ache every day, trying to be a leader, trying to be something that they weren't. And I like your point there that, hey, if you're willing to invest the time and be good at it, good for you. But keep in mind that, you need to be willing to step down if once you figure out it's not for you.
And it's more than just doing a task every day. It's actually changing people's lives. I don't know about you. I've had managers in my life who have made such an impact. I'll never forget who they were. That's why we call them impact leaders versus paycheck leaders, right? That being, I want to encourage people that are listening and watching right now is to be the type of leader you wish you worked for.
Yeah, I think I always like to pass on to people that, you find those people who you worked for in the past, you catch yourself repeating things that they said. I'd also ask you that, your current supervisor, do you catch yourself repeating things that they say? Just because you kind of believe that sense and there's someone you trust, and it's hard to move on from a good leader if there's someone that you really value and trust and have a great relationship with.
Yes. And at the end of the day, a leader's character is contagious. So you got to be careful what people are catching from you. You want people to show up every day with this positive attitude, but then as a leader, we show up with, this kind of grouchy attitude at times. So if we want people to show up with a good attitude and with excellence, we have to be the ones willing to show up that way first.
That's awesome. I really like that as well. Now, I guess as a fake doctor, I believe change really comes from kind of those grand gestures, but kind of from small intentional habits. I like to talk about prescriptions along with that one key thing. But what daily or weekly practices would you recommend leaders start cultivating to become that excellent leader?
Yeah, I say, first of all, get into a good leadership development course that focuses on those things I mentioned, the communication, coaching, time management, delegation, team building, culture building, change management. Get into a program that encourages you to develop in these areas and then practice them on a daily basis. When it comes to coaching people, be willing to have those tough conversations. It's not letting them fester and letting the poor behavior stay, but it's actually addressing them. I would also, if get a chance to download our National Workplace Trend Study, you're going to start to see what people say that they actually want in a destination workplace, what makes them want to apply, engage, contribute, promote, and stay with a company long term. Use a culture audit. We have a destination workplace culture audit that measures the entire employee experience in those areas we spoke about, that measures the flight risk per department. So starting to measure in areas, and you don't know how you can improve until you start asking people, which is the hard part, but asking your employees, what can we do better? What are we doing right and well, but what can we actually do better?
That's great. I think that leans right into what you were saying about trust earlier, that leaders have to get better at asking questions and, not just one-way communication. That's, I think older leaders, it's hard for us not to get away from that sense of, I've got to be in charge. I've got to, hey, everyone follow me. But sometimes, hey, while you're following me, I do have some questions for you, or I could use some advice or input or whatever. Definitely some challenges at times. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, I'm sure you can get us links to some of the resources that you provide. I don't know if you know much about my audience, but they love stuff free. And they always wanted to take on things that are free. So if you get those links over to me, I'll make sure and include those in the show notes. But if someone wanted to get a hold of you, what would you recommend as the best ways to get a hold of you?
Oh, I'd say go on my site, BetsyAllen-Manning.com, and just reach out to me. You can also check out our training site, our training consulting site, which is destinationworkplace.com.
Okay. Two great links. And then as part of the podcast video, we'll make sure and include your LinkedIn profile there along with your image. Any other closing thoughts from you?
Just make sure we'll give you the link to the National Workplace Trend Study so people can download that. And of course, to the Employee Recognition Questionnaire. Those are 2 free items for you. So if you like free, there you go.
The price is right. Yeah, all my doctor or all my patients love free, and then the things to happen now or sooner. So they're real easy to work with.
Yes.
And then for myself, I'm sorry. Did you have something else?
I was going to say one last thought for everyone is just to remember that people will always work harder for a purpose than they will a paycheck. Create an environment of purpose. That's how you keep people long term.
Awesome. I love it. And then for myself, you can always reach me by email, spelt out the doctor at fulcrumgroup.net. And then you'll see my LinkedIn profile on there. And hey, that brings us to the end of the doctor's appointment. How do you feel, Betsy? Do you feel better? Do you feel good?
I feel great. How about you? I feel good.
I feel incredible. I came with a whole bunch of great information. The only downside is now I got to go back to work and do a whole bunch of the things I need to improve upon. That's always the danger of a podcast. It makes me think critically about every single thing that I'm doing.
Hey, but if it helps improve, then it's worth it.
That's true. So if you liked our conversation, be sure to subscribe, post a question, suggest a topic, anything that you want to do. We're on all the different platforms we're out there. So make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform so you don't miss, first of all, you get to hear this great episode, but then you won't miss out on the next episode. Also feel free to share it with any leader or someone else, a friend that you want to help out with. And thanks for your time today. I'm your host, Steve the Dr. Meek, and the doctor is out. Thanks so much, Betsy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.